So to make a long story short, I started returning years later as a senator, made many of the rounds, most all the leaders, including Arafat. When the Likud came to power in '77, began systematically colonizing illegally the West Bank and Gaza and Syria, I began getting concerned and made more rounds. Went to a school for the children of martyrs, a Palestinian school. It was a very uneasy feeling about what was happening there. But I decided after the Likud came to power and Egypt was neutralized at Camp David by the peace accord, that the time had come to study terrorism, and I began the country's first in-depth study of terrorism, which concluded a year later with introduction of the Comprehensive Anti-Terrorism Act of 1979, measures to anticipate, penetrate cells by liberalizing standards for judicial surveillance and try to prevent and then manage if not. But I had a separate measure, which was to cut funding for Israel by $200 million until such time as the president could certify that its settlements policies were consistent with U.S. policies. I knew I wasn't going to win, but I wanted to demonstrate that given a choice between supporting American policy and the Israeli lobby, the Congress would support the lobby. I got 7 votes. Terrorism is an ancient tactic. Palestinians don't have Apache gunships. It was only a matter of time. But that effort to protect Israel and the United States, I also authored the Arab anti-boycott law to prohibit U.S. participation in the Arab anti-boycott of Israel, brought down the Israeli lobby when I ran for governor in '82. My wife was spat on. The money's, dried up and shifted to the opposition. And when the votes were counted, nobody gave me a chance. But it was a tie, a virtual tie, and massive evidence of irregularities, including the now infamous punch cards. We had witnesses in DuPage County who saw them at the Remake Center just punching out the cards to express the intent of the voters. So through our former partner, John Schmidt, Deputy Assistant, former Associate General, Attorney General of the United States, we presented evidence all over the state, different kinds of irregularity, although Cook County was relatively clean. It's the most observed county probably in the country. Massive evidence of irregularities. And the Supreme Court told the clock, and then 3 days before the election, one of the justices, a Democrat, Seymour Simon, went over and voted with the Republicans to deny the people of Illinois their choice. There's no question now. The only studies that have been taken indicate that I won that election. And Seymour confided to a friend. Seymour saw the people, his relatives were also being paid by the governor, my opponent. But he confided to a fellow, mutual friend, that he voted the way he did because of Israel. It was not in Israel's best interest. But it cost me the election, and then it cost the people their choice. And then, if you want me to go on, Gary, there's another horror story coming up.
Keep going. Keep going. And just for the record, we should say, the winner was James Thompson, the Republican.
That's right. And I ran against him in '86. I was supposed to be a shoo-in. Had a very strong ticket, but Abe Verdoliak and Washington were contesting control of the city council, and the Cook County Democratic Organization was diverted, distracted. Nobody thought there was a contest for lieutenant governor or secretary of state. It was a done deal. I had a first-rate candidate for lieutenant governor, respected senior senator, state senator, George Sangmeister. But the LaRouche cult ran candidates for those two offices, and they snuck in. They had smooth Anglo-Saxon sounding names, whereas ours were smacked of Cook County. And I couldn't shake this guy. We ran as one, like Siamese twin, one vote, governor and lieutenant governor. So I had to resign the nomination and organize a third party, the Solidarity Party. And we agreed with the Democratic regular committee, Central Committee and the candidates that we would cooperate. We would urge everybody to vote the straight Democratic ticket and cross over then to vote for me and the Secretary of State candidate, me and my new Lieutenant Governor candidate, who was Howlett, Mike Howlett Jr. That was, we had no money. We were trying to tell people vote Democratic, but then don't vote over here. Even so, I got 40% of the vote. But after that experience, I was enough.
Right.
Enough partisan.
I remember actually being in the room with John Schmidt and you when you were reviewing those options and chose the third party option as the only possible option. Do you have any regrets about that choice after all these years?
Alan Dixon urged me to just run with these characters on the ticket. And I don't know, we might have won, but I could not bring myself to put a cultist, an anti-Semite, within the proverbial heartbeat of the governorship. And who knows, it might have killed the whole ticket. People might not have voted the straight Democratic ticket. So I think I did the right. I mean, I had a lot of regrets. I should have knocked those people off the ticket, right off. We should have challenged their nominating petitions, but I didn't. I don't regret, however.
Well, it was a sign that the old slate making ain't what it used to be by the time that happened.
Well,
it was a rude awakening for a lot of people, I think.
Another example, and if you go all the way back, leave aside present company, but I think I have to speak primarily of Democrats, but I think all of the great presidents, governors, senators were candidates of regular Democratic organizations. I'm leaving aside present company. Nowadays, anybody can get elected, and they do. You can see what happened in the last lieutenant governor races here. Just got enough money, dip in your pockets. That's how Blagojevich got elected, by the nomination. Party organization raises money, dispenses it. But in the meantime, the world has become a much more complex, much more dangerous place as our the complexities of governing have mounted, our capacity has declined.
Well, tell me about your activities with East Asia, which has remained a strong focus for you.
Yeah, well, I've been there in and out ever since serving as a Marine Corps platoon commander. When I first really got sort of interested, the whole region was impoverished. My father was downed in a helicopter over guerrilla-infested jungles of Malaya that year of 1953. So I started signing up in various organizations, most notably the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, where I became president of the U.S. Committee, locally the Japan-America Society, the Midwest Japan Association, a whole lot of them, and would represent the United States at their meetings year after year after year, making relationships which are very important. And in some cases, getting some things done. I remember, for example, after the Vietnam War came to an end, I was president of the U.S. Committee of PAC, so it had been about 93. The war had ended. Vietnam was being isolated. And I just wrote Secretary Warren Christopher, and Warren, unless I hear any objections from you, I'm going to Hanoi. And I got some others to make the arrangements and went to Hanoi, got a red carpet treatment. Lead opened up. Instead of locking them in as we always do, we opened up Hanoi, brought them into Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, which was the avenue to APEC. Immediately, all of the ASEAN countries had lined up, they normalized relations, and so did the United States. We now have a trade agreement with Vietnam, but somebody had to do it. And in fact, the ASEAN people were a little unhappy because it came from an American. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we doing something like that in Korea now? But one thing led to the next. We got into business too. For a long time we had an office in Tokyo and we're intermediating the distribution of alternative investment products in Japan. In China, we created the Huamei Telecommunications Company with the support of the Clinton administration. All of the departments, the White House, the intelligence community, Commerce Department, supported this effort to create the first broadband network, the internet, in China. This is a huge market for American equipment. It was totally illegal, and yet our partners were 3 agencies of the Chinese government, 50-50. And we actually rolled out and demonstrated the first broadband network in China. It was in Guangzhou. And then what happens? 94, Newt Gingrich and his gang take control. They accuse us of transferring technology, super technologies, to the Chinese military. Next thing, we're being investigated. AT&T and all of our suppliers can't be found. They're, they disappeared. Gingrich and that gang killed this effort to build with China its broadband system, its internet. Now there are more internet users in China than there are in the United States. We are our own worst enemies over and over and over again.